Distinguished guests, partners and friends, it's a privilege to be here today with all of you to open the third consecutive ESG Investor Conference to be held here in Vietnam. Australia is one of those 60 countries that Mimi mentioned in her opening. We have a newly re-elected government led by Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, and I'm pleased to say it's a government that has reaffirmed our commitment to international cooperation, fostering peace, resilience and sustainable development. Australia remains a steadfast, trusted and reliable partner for Vietnam, and Australia-Vietnam partnership has never been stronger. In March this year, we celebrated 1 year of the Australia-Vietnam Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. The CSP is committed to strengthening further the bilateral relationship and is grounded in 6 pillars that reflect our shared commitment to cooperation, progress and mutual respect. And one pillar amongst those is dedicated to strengthening climate, environment and energy cooperation, making this agreement with Vietnam the first for Australia to include a focus on climate cooperation. The Australian Government is pleased to support this conference and dialogue on environmental, social and governance, ESG issues, and the promotion of positive and measurable social environmental impacts of business investments. The Australian Government believes Australia's prosperity and security and economic future are intrinsically linked to the prosperity and security of Southeast Asia. We share a region and we share a future. Australia and Southeast Asia share an ambition and imperative to act to combat climate change, and Australia is ambitious for what we can achieve together with the region to address climate change. Supporting the net zero transition is in our shared interest. Climate and the clean energy transition is at the forefront of our diplomatic, economic and development relationships with Southeast Asia, and especially so with Vietnam. As we navigate through uncertainties and the pressing challenges of our time, from climate change to social inclusion, blended finance has emerged as a powerful tool to align capital with purpose. Australia's development investments help de-risk impactful projects, opening the door for greater private sector participation in such areas as sustainable agriculture, renewable energy and inclusive finance. A cornerstone of our blended finance strategy is the Australian Development Investments, the ADI Fund, guided by the expertise of esteemed professionals, including Kylie Charlton, our distinguished keynote speaker today, who serves on the ADI Independent Investment Committee. Thank you, Kylie. ADI is a $250 million initiative designed to support early-stage investment in businesses that promote climate action and gender equality across the Indo-Pacific. Since 2020, with a much smaller initial fund, Australia has mobilised over $160 million in private investment, meaning that every dollar of ADI capital has leveraged $6 from private sources. ADI investments have also already created more than 9,800 jobs, with half of these held by women, and provided finance to over 1 million female micro-entrepreneurs. This is an amazing achievement, built on a recognition that all women and men must be engaged to their full potential to maximise economic growth. In Vietnam, the Australian Development Investments impact is evident through partnerships such as Climb Capital, through its Southeast Asia Clean Energy Fund, actively investing in clean energy solutions in Vietnam through partners like NAMI, VIOT and Stride. The Vietnam-based Asia Business Builders, a private equity fund dedicated to investing in women-led SMEs across Vietnam that align with ESG principles and the 2X criteria, with recent investments including China English and King Pharma. In addition, Australia's Emerging Markets Impact Investment Fund, EMIF, a pilot prior to ADI, had helped unlock capital for 16 portfolio companies in Vietnam, Indonesia, Bangladesh and the Philippines, with over 2,600 new full-time equivalent jobs, of which 59% are for women. I'm pleased to say this included investment in Ascent Vietnam Ventures, AVV's Alpha Fund, which supports digital platforms like MFAST to enable financial access for rural communities, enhancing financial inclusion and resilience. And 96% of the 10,000 micro-entrepreneurs and SMEs who indirectly benefit from the IMF FinTech Fund are also led by women. In Vietnam, IMF made substantial strides in enhancing access to finance for women-led or owned businesses and promoting diversity through SWEEF Capital. Too often, ESG is seen as the domain of large corporations, but I understand that this is a misconception. ESG is just as relevant and impactful for small and medium-sized enterprises. SMEs are positioned to embed ESG principles into their operations early and flexibly to drive innovation and sustain development results. Australia's Business Partnerships Platform, BPP, which I often like to refer to as the power of the small, is a reminder that meaningful impact does not always require scale, as long as it is purpose-driven. BPP supports partnerships between the Australian government and small businesses with sustainable practices and innovative solutions. And since 2016, the BPP has supported 75 partnerships in 21 countries across Asia, Africa, and the Pacific. In Vietnam, this includes partnerships such as sustainable cricket farming led by Cricket One, the Net Zero Pallet led by AirX Carbon, and the Mekong Conservancy Foundation's partnership with Vietnam Housewares, revolutionising sustainability in Vietnam. And I look forward to hearing more from Vicky Nguyen, co-founder of Cricket One, this afternoon, and Tao Chan, Chief Strategy Officer of AirX, tomorrow. Australia has demonstrated that blended finance is not merely a financial tool, but a catalyst for transformative change. By aligning capital with purpose, we're fostering inclusive growth and social equity while effectively and collaboratively addressing economic, climate, and social challenges. Australia is committed to advancing climate action and placing climate change and energy transition at the heart of our partnerships. Central to this commitment is the Australia Climate Finance Partnership, a concessional financing facility worth $140 Australian million managed by the Asian Development Bank to de-risk investment in climate-resilient projects. Some key investments enabled through these mechanisms include the Lotus Wind Power Project from 2021 in Quang Tri Province, VinFast electric vehicle infrastructure from 2022, and VinES battery production support in 2023. All of Australia's climate finance initiatives are designed to deliver tangible ESG outcomes, reducing emissions, enhancing climate resilience, and promoting a more sustainable tomorrow. Australia is committed to women's economic equality in Vietnam, and our commitment is demonstrated through our Investing in Women program. Through Investing in Women, as mentioned, the Australian Development Investments supported $5 million in the Asia Business Builders Fund. This effort targets growth sectors such as education, health and food, aligning with Vietnam's domestic consumption-driven growth trajectory. ESG principles are also at the heart of sustainable infrastructure, ensuring that infrastructure delivers long-term economic, social and environmental benefits. Australia's engagement through our funding to the Private Infrastructure Development Group, PIDG, seeks to bridge the gap between the risk-return expectations of high-quality investors and the risk-return profiles that are currently on offer in emerging markets. PIDG uses public finance from 6 donor governments to address market and institutional barriers that hinder private sector involvement in infrastructure development in developing countries. Notable investments by PIDG in Vietnam include Ninh Thuan Solar Power, CME Solar, and DAT Bike. And I'd like to thank Shilpa Krishnan, the Senior Business Development Manager at PIDG Infraco Asia, who will join this conference discussions tomorrow. Through Australia's Partnership for Infrastructure, we have been supporting Vietnam's efforts to enhance its energy regulatory framework and to accelerate its energy transition. This includes our Future of Electricity in Vietnam program. A conference held in September 2024 helped to build the technical capacity of officials working on Vietnam's energy transition journey. And, of course, all this work we support complements the Australian government's bilateral development programs in Vietnam, such as Oz for Adaptation, designed to partner with Vietnam to respond to the challenges of climate change facing the Mekong Delta. Oz for Growth, supporting Vietnam's transition towards a more inclusive, resilient and prosperous modern economy with enhanced trade and investment. And Oz for Innovation, that helps to strengthen Vietnam's innovation ecosystem and aims to shape Vietnam's innovation agenda in science and technology. More broadly, Australia's gender equality, disability and social inclusion programming runs across all of our development programs in Vietnam and backs in our ESG commitment. Looking ahead, Australia remains committed to deepening collaboration with all partners to sustain and promote further ESG outcomes. By leveraging expertise, resources, and a collaborative spirit, we're not only contributing to Vietnam's development aspirations, but we're also advancing our shared goals of a sustainable and prosperous future for all. And Vietnam's investment potential is exciting. The Australian government wants to see Australia positioned as a partner of choice for Vietnam to achieve its goal of becoming a modern, high-income country by 2045. I want to congratulate Ray's partners and Vietcetera for putting together a strong lineup of speakers for the conference this week. I thank them for their tireless efforts in sustaining the conversation on important ESG issues through the lens of impact investing. I wish you all an exciting and informative conference. Thank you.